Hi guys, Dr. Sandhu here from iMedics. Today's short video is on hyperkalemia in terms of what it is, what causes it, how it presents, the ECG features, and then a brief overview on the management as well. So in terms of hyperkalemia, how do we define it? Well, the definition will vary because different labs will have a different value as to what they describe as a hyperkalemia. And of course, it can be a mild hyperkalemia, it can be a moderate, and of course, a severe hyperkalemia as well. So generally speaking, a potassium level of more than 5.5 would suggest hyperkalemia, and then depending on what your lab will classify as severe, for example, some would say more than 6.5, some will say 7, but generally speaking, over the level of 6, you start to get worried that something's not quite right, and we need to be thinking about what we're going to do to manage this patient. So in terms of what the causes are, well, I like to think of a mnemonic, and the one that comes to mind that we tend to use, we've got a good learning card on this as well, is the word machine. Okay, so M will stand for medications. So things that can cause hyperkalemia from the medications would include ACE inhibitors, NSAID'S, and potassium-sparing diuretics like spironolactone. You've got A for acidosis, which can be metabolic like DKA, or respiratory. You've got A for acidosis, which can be metabolic like DKA, or respiratory acidosis. You've got C for cell destruction, which is seen when you've got, for example, a burns patient, such as a trauma, rhabdomyolysis. H for hypo, so PO, hypoaldosteronism or hemolysis. In the hypoaldosteronism, we're thinking about Addison's disease as a classic cause of hyperkalemia. And from hemolysis, you can get an artifactual result. So this is where the blood test took really long to do. You know, we've all been there. You've tried to take a sample from a difficult patient and it hemolyzes, or the sample has been left for long periods before it got to the lab, and that can give you an incorrect raised potassium result. So we've done M, we've done A, C, H, and then you've got I for intake, so excessive potassium intake, so potassium supplements, things like Sandoz-K. If you're on the ward and you're supplementing someone's potassium and you've left it on for too long, that can cause hyperkalemia. So be mindful of those as different causes. M, A, C, H, I, and then you've got N, which is the sort of nephrology-based causes. For example, kidney failure is a classic cause of hyperkalemia. And then you've got E, which is excretion, which is impaired. So impaired excretion, which again can occur when the kidneys have been damaged. In terms of the presentation, the patient can actually be asymptomatic and often is asymptomatic, but sometimes they can get features like palpitations, chest pain, muscle spasms. They can feel very lethargic, very weak. Heart might be racing. They may feel lightheaded. So it's important to be mindful of that, because a symptomatic hyperkalemia is obviously something of concern. The ECG has a classic picture. It's got tall tented T waves, a wide QRS complex, and small or absent P waves. And we'll put an ECG of hyperkalemia on our Facebook page, on our Twitter account, and our Instagram page as well later today, so you can have a look at it for your own reference. And in terms of the management, the important thing here is you follow your local hospital or primary care guidelines. So from my time working at my local hospital, we had a clear guideline on how to manage hyperkalemia. And I always made myself familiar with the guidance whenever I moved to each different hospital, so that I knew, and I do this from day one so that I never got caught out. And they will tell you what to do based on the potassium level. But common treatments that are given for, more kind of higher end hyperkalemia are things like IV calcium chloride, which will stabilize the myocardium, IV insulin to push that excess potassium into the cells. But of course, you have to monitor the blood sugars for hypoglycemia. In some cases, salbutamol as well. But of course, keep up to date with your local guidelines in your hospital and in your GP surgeries. So I hope you found that useful. That was a quick overview on hyperkalemia. We've got a lot more videos on our YouTube channel, Inspire_Medics, as well as learning cards on Twitter and Instagram as well for Inspire_Medics for both of them. And also our Facebook PLAB 1 and PLAB 2 revision groups, and our CSA and AKT revision groups. Until the next time, stay safe, and we'll be back with some more videos very soon.